Good afternoon to all of our merry Marvelites. Very excited to be here for a special Friday afternoon / evening for those of you on the East Coast Marvel movie talk. Excited to be here as always. I'm Christian Bladt, as is so often the case, joined by Michael Shirley.
Hey guys.
And joining us in person is not Nicolas Cage, the voice of Doom, the embodiment of Doom himself, the one, the only, that Zach Wilson.
Yes, I have returned.
And there's we're going to talk about Helstrom in a little bit. Now, if you didn't watch it, I don't know that there's a whole lot to spoil. I feel like you can see us talk about it. The surprising thing about Helstrom is that they dropped the entire season last night, which is not what I was expecting, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Zach, there's obviously every show where we don't have you, there's something missing. But when we got the Doctor Strange news about Doctor Strange being in the upcoming Spider-Man, which I guess we can call Spider-Man 3, but when you say Spider-Man 3, people think of something that they probably don't want to remember.
It's really confusing. Spider-Man Homeless, I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a release date.
Yeah. So there's we're going to talk about some rumors associated with that movie. A lot of them tie from the actual news. But when you heard that Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange would be in the movie, what were your immediate thoughts and reaction?
I was like, that's cool. That's cool. My first thought was, I guess this is how they're going to get the Sony movies out of the MCU. This is how they're going to justify breaking into their own universe, because they're gonna wibbly wobbly it, and then MCU says bye bye to Peter Parker.
Yeah, maybe it's he has to say goodbye to the MCU so that they don't have to strike another deal. It's
but he's already got. But so the one wrinkle in that is, like, they're putting him in another movie. Like, he has a team up on the contract, which, like, unless that's secretly being already done, like, you can't break him out of the universe and then put him back. So I don't know, but that was my first thought.
Yeah, and now Michael, we talked about it last week. This idea.
I called it.
You did. I know. I remember. And
I knew this was going to happen.
Zach, you'll appreciate this. We did the show. We actually went a little bit long last week because we had a guest, artist Andy Smith. And because we went long, we were actually on the air to break the news. It would have been right after we were done. If we had finished at the normal time, it would have been like 10 minutes later.
Nice.
So
Classic.
Yeah, it actually worked out for us. So Michael, I know you're excited because much like me, I operate solely on rumor and innuendo. I'm not so worried about facts and checking your sources. I love when there's rampant speculation, and there's a lot of speculation. And obviously tied into this, it is sort of a good explanation for why Jamie Foxx would be in this movie as Electro. That was actually the news that we had before this. So you get those two pieces that are official. Then everybody's like, Tobey Maguire's going to be in it. Andrew Garfield's going to be in it, but don't worry, he won't be in it too much because, we know that everybody wants Tobey. I want you to talk about, Michael, just all of it and your thoughts for the most rumory rumors that we've heard so far.
Right. I knew when that Jamie Foxx signing happened, it was just so off. And Marvel's so calculated with their movies. I knew it had to be something, and I hate to kind of jump on everything like I always do, but no, I am really excited about it. But this for me is more of DC and Marvel kind of riffing off each other. DC's been really, really pushing, these like kind of multiverse with The Flash and with the Legends of Tomorrow, and I felt like, S.H.I.E.L.D. ripped off Legends of Tomorrow for their entire last season. So for me, I think that the nostalgia of it, like, they know everyone, like, really, really has fond memories of those original Spider-Man movies. I even have fond memories of Spider-Man 3. But,
well, Well, that's just because you're a huge Topher Grace fan, and like I
Oh,
get it.
yeah, totally. You called it.
Although what I will say about Topher Grace, he was pretty great in Black Klansman as David Duke. It was sort of like a kind of one of those like revelation performances in a movie for me because I was like, oh, he's kind of perfect. Anyway, but as you were saying,
I am really excited for it. Zach, you mentioned that this is their way of pulling Spider-Man into the Sony universe. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking of it the other way, like they're trying to pull all the Sony stuff into the Marvel universe.
Could be that.
But
Maybe I'm just a pessimist, and I'm just like I'm so just ready. Like I'm just like they're not gonna do it. Like I mean, I could be wrong.
yeah.
Could be
Well,
the
what
other
I was
direction.
saying,
That's how you get Venom.
yeah, Michael bringing up the the DC aspect when you heard that you were going to see Michael Keaton as an older Batman. That's when I was like, okay, I feel like Marvel would not be interested in now having passed Spider-Man on screen. I mean, unless they wanted to get Nicholas Hammond from the 1977 TV series and have him be very old Spider-Man. Look, if you're going to do a Spider-Verse, you might as well get everybody.
I
But
think Spider-Verse did so well, they thought, well, why mess with a good thing? People are going to go more Spider-Ham over this if it's real people.
Kame Egan mentions that I thought the rumor of Tobey and Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man 3 was debunked recently. Now, what Sony said is it is not confirmed that those actors are in it. Now, so it was one of those ones where they're like,
Sony respond?
They said that it's not confirmed that they're in there. So what they're saying is they're basically trying to say that they're not in it, but they want you to keep talking about it because we're talking about it.
There's a lot of I think this week there's a lot of somebody being like, "Oh, the news got out," but it was not officially announced. They're like, "That's not a thing."
Yeah, and
what
I
do I do?
Yeah, I don't know that if they're in it, they're in it much. Cam Egan with a quick follow up. I want a Sinister Six movie first. I don't know. I still want a Sinister Six movie to be built up to. I want to get to see all of them, and as
I feel like that's what this is.
Yeah, well, it could be, but and there's always so many of these things or rumors that you hear as we're talking about. And Michael brought to my attention that there was talk that Dane DeHaan, who had played Harry Osborn in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, would be back. And I'm like, well, who asked for that? Like
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Well, yeah, no, Vincent D'Onofrio is saying that he would love the opportunity to play the Kingpin. And I think the fact that most fans would be like, yeah, that'd be great, because he was so good. And like, they don't even care. So if Doctor Strange wants to open a portal and Wilson Fisk walks out and it's Vincent D'Onofrio,
yeah.
I don't think people are going to watch that and go like, no, I didn't want to see that. That's so.
He's gonna have that snowstorm painting with him too.
It's just behind him.
He definitely will.
I mean, you don't even have to get the same one. You just throw some white paint on a canvas and you're done.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I see. Here's the thing. As much as like this is fun to think about, and like the not denial from Sony is interesting at least. I don't know that I don't know that they should do the live action because Spider-Verse 2 is still coming. I think more than likely what you're going to get is you're going to get the 3 of these live action Spideys in Spider-Verse 2. I think that's 1, I think it's more likely, and 2, I think it's actually more fun. Yeah. I would rather these 3 pop up in Spider-Verse 2 than Tobey Maguire show up. Oh, who cares about Garfield? And Tobey Maguire show up in live action with Tom Holland. I would just maybe there's a moment in the new 3 where like we see a port like Doctor Strange is showing the multiverse and we see a glimpse of animated Miles somewhere. So it's just like a flash of it, and then we can like you can backdoor. That's when Tom Holland like went in there, went into the animated world. Yeah, but I don't need it in live action. I'd really rather they kept it small. Just give me Kraven's Last Hunt. I don't know what Electro is doing there, but like I'd rather this movie just turn out to be Kraven's Last Hunt.
And then the interesting thing there was which our friend Colt Badeau up in the Star Drammer, he messaged me that Jimmy Kimmel announced that he would be playing Kraven the Hunter in
He did post
Spider-Man
that.
3,
Yeah, I
and
saw
he
that.
tagged and he also tagged Tom Holland, and I was just like, I'm sure it's a joke. I'm sure it's part of a bit. It's I mean, is it the craziest thing you've ever heard? No, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. It's like I used the example last week that if you had told me in season 1 of Parks and Rec, like, oh, the fat guy, yeah, he's going to be a superhero at some point, so stay tuned for that. I'd be like, yeah, okay. So
yeah, the interesting thing that the thought that I saw with the Jamie Foxx casting, which, can we highlight Cammy Egan's thing?
Did not make him blue again?
Jamie Foxx made a clear statement that he's not going to be blue again.
Yeah, and Daniel Drew is right there on that, saying that yes, that is definitely that's fine. He doesn't.
But an interesting theory on, like, with him coming in and then the Doctor Strange thing and then maybe the multiverse, is the idea that it would be Sinister Six for this movie, and that you'd pull from the whole multiverse to form this Sinister Six to go up against Spider-Man. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I mean, I love the creative thinking that goes into that. I think it would be great. It's I don't know. I mean, can you give me Willem Dafoe Green Goblin?
That's what I mean. I think you can take you just bend in whoever you. I mean, but the thing is, again, there's like a fun comic book insanity to that, but I want to see the just Tom Holland's universe, like the MCU version of Norman Osborn. That doesn't. Yeah. It could even be Willem Dafoe, but I don't want to see the Raimi verse Willem Dafoe, like the Raimi verse Norman, like Green Goblin, like pop in just to be a villain. I want to see Peter meet Harry Osborn, like maybe he meets him in college, or he's a transfer student, and like him. Can you imagine like a young Harry Osborn being friends with Peter and Ned, and then like the awkward situations that's going to get them into? Give me that. Give me that movie, like that story. And I don't want to deprive it. I don't want to lose that just because Sony wants to rush a Sinister Six movie.
Yeah, and I think that to get Norman Osborn, obviously, they also had cast Chris Cooper for a third Andrew Garfield movie. We don't see him, but we do hear him in Amazing Spider-Man 2. So, there are a few avenues they can go. I mean, BJ Novak played Alistair Smythe. I mean, there were all these characters. You had Felicia Hardy in the movie. You had all of these characters that they were like ready to do stuff.
That they had Felicia in that movie.
She was like his assistant. She was Norman Osborn's assistant. Yeah. And it was I can't believe I'm blanking on her name. The lead from Rogue One. It was her. It was that actress.
It was Felicity Jones.
There you go. Thank you. So I don't know. I love this stuff because it's fun, and then you can come up with all these things, and then usually, your most outlandish thing isn't close to what happens, but they'll figure out a way to surprise us all. I think. I don't think at the end, heading into Far From Home, any of us are like, oh, I wonder if we're going to see J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. So that I think that there will be surprises along the way. And the movie that would make sense for us to see Tom Holland again as Spider-Man would be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If they're in each other's movies, it could be anything else, but that's sort of what I was thinking.
Could be. They originally said team movie, but I guess it could just be an appearance in anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, my thought was Young Avengers.
That's true.
Is where you put him, because. Can you imagine either like a Young Avengers movie with like, this is the cast that you have set up for Young Avengers now, because you've got Kate Bishop coming. Mm-hmm. You've got Kate Bishop. You've got Peter Parker. You've got Stature is right there. Who else? You got Kamal Khan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like just those four. You don't even need to add. But I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, probably you're gonna have the Maximoff twins.
Oh yeah.
By the end of WandaVision. That's a 6-person team that I would watch the hell out of that movie. And yeah, a lot of them come from Disney Plus, but Disney wants that. Disney wants to do a major motion picture that forces you to go spend $7 a month on Disney Plus. That's their big goal. So if you can do that and you put Spider-Man at the front of it so that people are in their seats, that I guarantee you that they've at least thought about that process, that potential.
Michael, of all the stuff we're talking about, if you got to pick one, what's the one thing that you would most want to see in this Spider-Man movie, no matter how outlandish the rumor is or how crazy the idea is? Is there something that comes to mind? You know, I mean,
You didn't mention it, but yes.
What is it?
I want to see Kirsten Dunst.
Oh, yeah. How great would that be? What if you have Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone? They didn't play the same character.
Oh, yeah.
So
now, here's the thing. All of this aside, like, put it all away. Give me fucking Emma Stone. I'm sorry, I swear. I'm swearing.
Okay,
but give me Emma Stone as goddamn Spider-Woman, and I don't care what else you do. All day, every day.
What outfit?
Spider-Gwen forever. Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, it would be Spider-Gwen, right?
Spider-Gwen?
Yeah,
that's Gwen Stacy. Like, I want to see a live-action Spider-Gwen so bad. I just feel it's weird to call her Spider-Gwen, even though that's the name of her series.
I know, yeah.
But, like, she's Spider-Woman. Or Ghost Spider eventually, because they were like, we gotta change this. This is confusing.
I can see that.
Well, I hope there's no shortage of additional crazy rumors that come on, because we've got like more than a year to wait for this movie. So I'm happy to keep guessing. What's your final thought on that, Michael?
Well, I read that they're trying to do multiple Deadpools, and I mean, I could definitely see Emma Stone being a
Deadpool,
Spider-Gwen,
or Gwenpool.
Or Gwenpool.
Yeah. Gwenpool, totally different thing. I literally have one.
There's a Gwenpool over there somewhere. There she is. Look at that. You can reach her.
I could imagine her being a better Gwenpool, thinking of like the movies like Yay. Like I could see her and Ryan Reynolds kind of riffing off each other.
Because they're talking about
Lady Deadpool would be interesting, but give me a live action Gwenpool who has nothing to do with Deadpool, but is a woman from our universe who gets sucked into the comic books. I love Gwenpool's the best.
So they're talking a lot about it in the chat right now, and it is one of the things I wanted to talk about. Zach, on our Popcorn Talk show, Marvel Movie News, which is sort of the grandfather to whatever this is that we do right here. We talked a lot about She-Hulk in this series. Now, we had what was seemingly actual like casting news.
Yeah.
That it was. I always say her name wrong. I know it's Tatiana Maslany or some variation. Maslany. Yeah, I'm leaving out a letter. So it's Orphan Black basically. And I think people were excited. That seemed like casting, and now she's like, yeah. I mean, I'm not cast as that. So there's a few things that I see. I'm going to give my theory first, which is that this is a pretty close to a done deal, but it's not actually signed, and maybe she wants something else in her deal. You know, maybe she's like, give me another point on the back end of something. You know, how about I get some merch? I don't know what it is. So I think it's still very likely to be her. So Zach, I wanted to start with you. Your thoughts on her as the casting, and then what you think this is her saying like yesterday that she's not necessarily going to be She-Hulk.
Oh, amazing casting. Fantastic casting. She's going to be great. Like, Tatiana Maslany is one of the most flexible actresses out there. Like, of course she can play the range of any variation of She-Hulk, whichever they're going to do. If they're going to do the light, more funny version that I have been wanting for years, where it's like Ally McBeal, like, she'll kill it. If it's the more like dark, like anger focused She-Hulk, she'll kill it again. Like, she's got the range to pull that off. This statement though, like, whoever was conducting this interview is never going to get a big interview again from anyone connected to Marvel. They should never have asked her that, because it was not officially announced. So that's all. Literally, she probably has signed the paperwork. She can't respond to that question. She has to. All she can do is deny it.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel in particular, and look, let's talk about the parent company, Disney. If you're signed on for a Star Wars property and it hasn't been announced yet, you can't say that like, oh yeah, I'm in season 3 of The Mandalorian. You know, like
Yeah, like
yeah,
there are some actors that are like that are already like established roles that have slipped. Like Michael Douglas slipped on Ant-Man 3
yeah,
at one point. But he's Michael Douglas, and obviously they're not like gonna recast Hank Pym.
yeah.
But Tatiana Maslany, this is her first foray into anything of this scale. Like Orphan Black was a big show, but it's not Marvel Studios and Disney.
Yeah, nobody's gonna sit Gordon Gekko down and tell him not to talk to the press. You know, it's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't
It
worry.
was also like a minor slip. It was like oh yeah, they're writing it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever, Michael
Right.
Douglas. But like she's not in a controlled environment like an interview. She's not gonna hear a question that like is very easy to just deny. And
Let's see. Daniel Drew says maybe just a contractual obligation not to say anything. Basically, what you're saying.
yeah,
Maybe it took them time
exactly.
to solidify. Maybe they want to
There-
make a big multi-casting announcement. Maybe they want to tell you other characters that are in it.
There are people that I know, and I can't get into specifics because of how I heard them, but like I know that there's casting stuff that hasn't been announced, but is like a well-known secret, but no one will comment on it because it's not official, because Marvel wants to do their big reveal.
Michael,
And
what do you think all of this is? Do you think that she is going to be She-Hulk, or do you feel like there's some reason why maybe this is falling apart, like a full month after they announced it, or not announced it, but that the story broke?
It's kind of like a higher power. I'll never know, so I'm just not going to think about it.
It's above your pay grade, basically,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah,
I
and
just want to tell the whole internet to calm down. Like,
yeah, I know. And then you did have a lot of people, because we talked about this too, that there was a very vocal movement for Alison Brie to be She-Hulk. And then it was like, oh, look, they're not doing season 3 of Glow, and she's available. She would have been available anyway, even if they had finished it. So, they haven't started shooting She-Hulk. So, it's, yeah, I feel pretty confident that she is going to, just like how, all intents and purposes, Haley Steinfeld is going to be Kate Bishop. Just they basically waited a year or a year and a half because she was tied up with season 2 of her Apple Plus show. So
and that's still not official. Like,
Yeah.
If you asked Haley Steinfeld, "Are you Kate Bishop?" she'd be like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." Like,
Yeah.
that everybody's talking about that, but that's not a thing because Disney is paying her millions of dollars to say no, it's not a thing.
yeah, exactly. And also Rock, who unfortunately was probably under the impression that Zia was going to be here today. But thank you, Rock, for sticking around. Says Tatiana will be great, so we appreciate that. Yeah, look, I think she will be great, and I think that it just reminds me that I was going to check out Orphan Black at some point, but never did. So I would, But some of the other like actual like news we got is that we finally got our first look at MODOK. Because they did a virtual panel over at New York Comic Con. And it's a completely different animation style than I thought, but the sensibility of it, hearing Patton Oswalt, I think the tone of the show is about what I was thinking we were going to get, but not the look. Michael, what did you think about the clip that I know that, I know because I sent it to you, that they showed at the New York Comic Con virtual panel?
I loved it. I like very few things. I loved it. It was really fun. I said a robot chicken. Like, this is totally like robot MODOK. But yeah, it was really cool. I couldn't really imagine what a show about him would be like. So I didn't have too much of a high or low expectation, but I'll definitely watch it. It looks really great.
I think it's hard to do like a serious take on MODOK. I mean, not that you couldn't, but he's not a likable character. He's not somebody that you're going to feel good about tuning in every. It's not like you're conflicted protagonist in a series like your Tony Soprano, where you can see his failings and what makes him human. Although that's actually what this is, because he has problems with his home life. So it's almost like they're like, yeah, what if MODOK was Tony Soprano? Let's see that. And I mean, I think it looks cool. It definitely seems like it's going to be funny, and I don't know. I feel like we're going to get it soon. Zach, I know that you were tweeting about it. You and I were tweeting a little bit with some other people when after that was released. Share your thoughts with us on this clip that we've seen now of.
So
MODOK.
here's the fun thing: I didn't know until you just said it that there was a clip. I thought it was just images. So I'm like trying to. I'm like just found it, and I'm gonna watch it right now.
It's like only a few minutes into the panel. Yeah. But yeah, it's it's got the level of humor that I want from MODOK. Here, you go ahead and take a look. Andrew says, I feel MODOK will be similar to Harley Quinn show in tone. I was going to say the DC Universe Harley Quinn show, but I guess everything is HBO Max at this point. So you had a good run, DC Universe, but
not a thing. DC Universe. Because I canceled my subscription a few months ago.
It's going to be just for comics. They're going to call it something else. It's going to be DC Universe and then another word. I don't remember what the word is. But then, yeah, all the shows are moving over to HBO Max. So the Harley Quinn show being part of that. And then another comment from Daniel that Allison Brie would be an insane Gwenpool. So taking two of our ideas and tying them together,
all right,
you're not feeling that one. So, now that you
She-Hulk, when that rumor was floating around, physically, I feel like she has that physicality.
Yeah. And look at Daniel keeping us informed for all the universes. DC Universe Infinite, which sounds cool.
It's not so infinite if they took everything away.
Wow, that's a great point. Whereas Marvel just has Marvel Unlimited
app now. Like, it's Marvel,
it's Marvel
Unlimited.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, now you just got to go get it on HBO Max. Like, great, thank you. I can watch all of this stuff in one place.
Yeah, right. I think that's what they're looking for. So I mean, we don't really have a good sense for when we'll get MODOK, but we've seen enough of it. They were promoting it, so my guess is probably early next year. I think it'll be fun to check out, and
I'm excited for it. I'm so excited.
When we had that slate of animated Hulu shows that we ultimately ended up not getting, all of them except this one. I think I was disappointed that we weren't going to get the Kevin Smith, Howard the Duck show, and they all were interesting in different ways. Look, Hip Monkey was the biggest unknown to me, but still getting this one, I'm excited that this is the one that we're getting. I mean, personal preference, Howard the Duck would have been my number one, but this is still pretty cool. And I like that it looks different. I like that it's basically MODOK chicken, like you were saying, Michael. I mean, it's that
I'm curious
style.
if the whole lineup was supposed to be this style, because they were doing the plan was to do a crossover. So were they all going to be claymation like this?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe. It's. I mean, I guess it's fairly cost effective, right?
Yeah. Well, because we're speaking about all things Hulu now, let's talk about the Marvel property that if you had seen the trailer that we talked about a month or so ago, you wouldn't have known was a Marvel property because they took the words Marvel out of it. So I was wondering if it was going to be in the credits, but there it was right there. Like Marvel's like, wow, we gotta slap our name and ABC signature television.
They didn't flash the normal comic logo
That's true. They didn't have that thing at the beginning. You're right, but they've
done everything they could to bury the fact that this is a Marvel show. The only thing in the entire pilot, I only watched the first episode. They had Roxanne. They had Roxanne gas.
I did make a note of Roxanne. Yeah,
but that's it.
Yeah, I know. It's so we got the premiere of Helstrom last night. Surprisingly, all 10 episodes are there. And if I
put it up and let it go away.
Well, it was what they did with The Runaways. Like they told you it was canceled, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, but then in a month you're going to get the season 3 of The Runaways," and don't hold out any hopes for the way it ends. So
I think it's a Halloween show, so you're not going to want to stretch it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, maybe they might have maybe they would have tried like doing a 2-part release, like 5 episodes now, 5 episodes. Like in 2 weeks, right before Halloween or something, but
yeah. Well, there's a little bit of connection there in the credits, and then I do always appreciate. You don't always see it in the beginning credits. Usually, there's like a quick screen at the end. I guess Joe Quesada was a producer, but they also give credit to Roy Thomas, John Romita, Herb Trimp, and Gary Friswich, but it's a typo on my part because I was tired. So now I'm like, oh, I got Gary's last name wrong. But it gave you the comic book creators who were heavily involved. So I think it's nice to see that up front. I always appreciate that. And I know that the creators do, unless you're Bob McLeod and they spelled your name wrong in the credits for New Mutants, then you don't appreciate it, especially when you had 2 years to fix it. So there's that. I would say in sort of broad general terms, I thought, to me, it did a good job in setting up what we're going to be seeing Damon Helstrom, what he's up to. I liked the character building for him. I think the first scene that we have with him where he goes to see the kid, he goes up into his room. I'm like, oh, okay, I get this guy. And I liked him. And I liked the sister because she came off really bitchy. So I actually texted Zia because she was still up, but she wasn't watching it. And I'm like, oh, you're going to really like her. So basically when it was over, I said to Zia, like, well, you should check it out. But I feel like if it was you and me on Supernatural being kind of obnoxious and unlikable, I think that's what this show would be. But anyway, we'll see if I'm right. But I think that there's some good mystery about their mom and all of that, which we won't dive in too much this week. It was more like, okay, I'm intrigued. I'm glad that it's all there, but because I watched it at midnight, I wasn't going to watch more than that. Let's see, Michael. Let me ask you. You don't like anything, so you must have hated it, right?
If only. Oh, man. All right. So when I started watching it, I was like, oh my gosh, this show is horrible. Like, this is like, no wonder they took the name off. Because that first scene, I feel like that guy has like the acting chops of like Finn Jones. He's just.
Oh, why do you hurt me like that?
Oh my God. Like, that scene was so painful with the kid, and then when the kid's like when you find out things aren't what they are,
yeah,
his acting kind of gets better. But through the whole show, I was okay with it. But every once in a while, this dude, his acting just brings me out of it. He's a terrible actor. It's like he should be on like some CW show. I don't know. He must have had a really good audition or something, but his acting is not consistent. It's just, I don't find him scary. Like, maybe there's more to see, but he's really bringing me out of it. I really love Satana. Like, she was really awesome. I like that casting choice. I like the character. I like the cinematography. I got a big New Mutants vibe from the film. It seemed like it had a lot in common with it, being that it's not really.
So there were accents that were difficult to listen to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, this is another Hulu property that was supposed to be a series of shows, Adventures in Fear or whatever, that got canceled along with these other. These other shows that got moved, like MODOK, which actually didn't get canceled, but
no, but it was part of a very ambitious Hulu-centric slate. Yeah,
I think they worked on this and realized this is not going to work, and the whole Disney thing happened, and
and they're like, there's a market for this. We've already spent enough money. Let's burn it off right before Halloween. Give it the best chance. Overall thoughts for you, Zach, as you watched the Mother's Little Helper is the title of Helpers, plural, Mother's Little Helpers, for all the Stones fans out there. Mother's Little Helpers. What are your thoughts on the premiere of Helstrom?
Look, at the end of the day, it just wasn't a strong pilot. Like, as a pilot episode, like somebody trying to get me into the story, trying to set up. After that episode, I don't know what the plot is of this season. Like, the mom is possessed, and there's like this vague symbol that they're tying us to that's going to set up some kind of evil. but we don't really know enough about these characters to like get invested. Like this is the character centric episode that's usually episode 2. Like generally when you structure a season like, especially like a sci-fi fantasy show, you want that first episode to just be like plot, like here's what's going on in the world, and here's why it's dangerous, and here's the stakes, and why everything's gonna go wrong. And then episode 2, you get into the who are these people and why do I care. But they tried to give us like who are these people, but they didn't give us enough.
Yeah,
I didn't get enough backstory, and Damon seemed kind of bored. Like I get that that's the point, like the point of that early scene, like with the kid, that like this is like, oh, this is just routine nonsense and the kid's not interesting. But when he's bored, when the main character seems bored, it makes everything around him seem boring. Even a demonic possession felt boring because he wasn't interested enough. And I wish that they'd gotten into more of like, I get that that's probably coming, but I wanted at least some of their story to come in this episode. Like I don't think you should be don't hold back on the fact that these people are like who they are. Like don't wait. Give us that.
Yeah, I think that, you know, look, you make a point about it being a good pilot. I mean, not being a good pilot because it doesn't actually show you what the show's about. There's a great way to do a pilot, and a good example from a slightly different genre would be like the X-Files pilot. There's a lot they don't tell you, but you learn enough about them, and you get a feel for like, oh, okay, so this is what the show's going to be, and that's what the show was, you know. But this, yeah, I agree that I don't know what it's going to be next week.
Are we hunting a monster a week?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is it going to be like Supernatural in that sense? And I all I know about Supernatural is the amount of it that I've seen. It's like it's back when gyms were open in California. It would always be on, so I would see a lot of it, you know. And I'm like, all right, I think I get what this show is. And is this going to be a version of that? And I don't know. Yeah. So I again, if it hadn't been almost 1 a.m, the idea of seeing the second one, I'm very curious as to what we learn in the second one, if we get a better idea, but maybe we don't. But then the real question is, I'll ask you first, Michael, are you inclined to watch more, or you were like, I hate the acting so much I can't bother?
I'll watch more. Hopefully, like they like gave him some lessons after the pilot. He'll like figure it out.
I mean,
am I the only one who thought that he was not totally believable?
I kind of liked the sort of detached indifference thing, but I think it'll get old if he seems like that throughout the course of the series, you know? So yeah, I'm going to need to see more from him.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a problem with like the actor's skill. I think he did a fine job. I just don't think he had much to play with in this episode. Yeah. Like they didn't give him really any strong emotions to have. Like there wasn't, like maybe there could have been something in that one, in the like the fight scene with the mom, but like it just they blew past it. Like, they didn't give him anything to like milk as an actor. So like, hopefully that will come.
I did find that to be strong casting. I like the mom. I thought that
she's really good.
And Michael, if you had said that you weren't going to watch it, I would have had the feeling that you must have thought it was awful, because as people who have seen us host things know that you watch The Gifted every week. So, you know, the bar is very low to get you to come back. Now,
I'll keep watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the idea that if I, you know, didn't have other obligations and a family, if I wanted to, I could finish it this weekend, you know. And then I'd at least know what it delivers. I don't know. We have a few people in the chat who didn't remember that it was premiering basically today. It was at midnight, and you know, I think that's a little bit by design. I think people want it to be forgotten about. Hulu's kind of, you know, Hulu did whatever you have to do to buy a hashtag where a symbol comes next to it. The symbol from this episode shows up in the hashtag.
You gotta buy that?
Oh yeah. And you only have it for a certain amount of time, you know, like at a certain point, if you go back to like old tweets, you know, it's like not there, you know, like around a current season of Doctor Who, if you do hashtag Doctor Who, you get a TARDIS, but if you do it right now, you're not getting anything, you know? So it's, you know, I bet you remember all those New Mutants hashtags and emojis. I don't think you're going to get those right now. But you know, the movie's coming out on Blu-ray in less than a month, so maybe you'll get it then.
Is it coming soon?
November 7th or November 9th. I forget what day it is. So yeah,
nice.
and I know
still haven't seen it.
I know you didn't make the trip out to the drive-in to see it, but now it's going to come to your house. So
perfect.
Then you'll have to feel like if you really want to see it,
or
they're going to make it easier.
Entire AMC theater to see it.
I mean, there's 3 very close to you, so you
they're not available for rent. You got to go to a different one. That's a real thing, by the way. AMC is doing.
Oh, so you could rent one down in like Orange County or something. I guess you could rent.
Yeah, there's like 5 in the state of California or something that they're doing it with. But like, yeah, you can like spend like, it depends on the movie you pick. If it's like $100 to $350 and just like rent out the entire theater for like 20 people.
I'd read about that in the UK. So at some point, I think like when New Mutants was going to premiere there were people like, oh, can I find enough friends who actually want to see it? But yeah, I mean, you'll be able to watch it at home. It's fine. You know, it's, I will be interested to know what you think. But you know, where the ranking is, if you consider it an X-Men movie, where you put it in terms of the hierarchy.
Movie.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Oh yeah, and Daniel Drew, this wasn't something I was planning on talking about, but I'm glad you mentioned it. The second of the Netflix properties rights go back to Marvel on Monday. That's the 19th. Luke Cage, and then 3 more to go because it's in the order that they were canceled. So I guess Iron Fist was first. Now it's Luke Cage, and then it'll be well, I don't know. Was it Daredevil first? No, Daredevil wasn't first, was he?
I thought Daredevil got canceled first.
Yeah.
But there, look, but it's all paperwork.
It's all close together.
Like,
Iron Fist diverted on the 12th. Yeah.
It's not necessarily when we knew about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point.
And it may actually, I would say it's probably more likely based on either paperwork or air date. So
yeah, exactly. And the last one would be The Punisher because that was the last one to air, I think. So, but even that.
What about Defenders?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was long enough ago where the brand name of the Defenders has no doubt already reverted to Marvel. I think using the Defenders as something is probably realistic, but I don't think it would be those characters. You know, I mean, there have been so many different teams that are the Defenders. You know, I mean, there was the original one had Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and the Hulk. So I mean,
and Namor, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
And Namor. Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever use the name Defenders again, just because like why draw the comparison? You've got enough teams that you can pull names from in the comic.
They love recycling stuff.
Well, I like that Daniel keeps an eye on this stuff. Daredevil will be back on November 29th, and Jessica Jones and Punisher on November 29th, 2021. So that's another year. I do remember now that we knew that all that stuff was going. They did make us wait a while for that season 3 of Jessica Jones.
But anyway, ever did on Disney Plus the Netflix shows since it has Netflix on it?
I don't think so because I think Netflix like owns those shows.
Yeah.
If in some weird hypothetical where Netflix were to go under and not exist anymore, then something like that might happen. But as long as Netflix exists, I mean, that's the whole reason why they have those shows. And they felt like they didn't need to order more seasons because if you take all of those series, they have like 100+ episodes of Marvel superhero shows. And they're like, that's enough. People can find all of our other stuff. So that's all they really need. And since we're talking about Netflix and shows that you can all find, this is a great time to mention that as of yesterday, the show that my wife worked on, Social Distance, is now available on Netflix. She wrote episode 8. They're all good, but you should check out episode 8 if you want to see the one that my wife wrote. And I believe Mike Collier's in one of them. So speaking of Luke Cage. So you can find that on Netflix. And I know there's a lot on Netflix, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. You can find that being one of them. And then Rock is correcting me that New Mutants will be on Blu-ray on November 17th. I didn't have the exact right date, but thank you, Rock, for checking that out for us. So it's a month from tomorrow, so you can get your pre-orders in if you're so inclined. Anyway, there's the one sort of remaining looming story that always is there's something about it. This idea that we're going to get to see Black Widow in May, which will be pretty much a year after it was supposed to come out. And there's always a vocal fan a segment of the fan population that are just like, yeah, but just give it to me on Disney Plus. And I still stand by my assessment that if they have to wait for like 2 more years, they will not do that. They want to, try to make some money off of it the old fashioned way. They feel like there'll be movie theaters. Just they're not sure when. But Zach, you haven't been around while we've talked about this over the last few months. What are your thoughts about their approach to Black Widow, which has been done for like a year at this point?
I mean, look, it's tough. Natasha deserves her big screen debut. Like, that character deserves her big screen movie. It would be a shame to have to put it up on Disney Plus, but like, if we don't have, like, realistically, if there's not a vaccine by March, or by May rather, I don't know how you put it out. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah,
I don't know that you're gonna make any more money putting it out into like the few theaters that are doing it. Like, if there's a vaccine, there'll be enough people. I may not go. I don't know when I'm gonna be comfortable going into a movie theater, but like, I don't know. We'll
well, I think that what you need, and this is what we've said before, the real, it keeps moving. Which one of these is the first one to really test it? And now, like, Wonder Woman's supposed to come out on Christmas, so if that actually comes out, you're going to really get a sense, like, are people ready to go to the movies or not? Because
California's not going to have movie theaters. It's going to be drive-ins again.
No, like, Los Angeles County isn't, but in Orange County they have them all, so they're all open in Orange County. Yeah, so if you drive, basically less than half an hour from where we live, you could get to a movie theater if you were so inclined. So Los Angeles County, I think you're right. They're not in a rush to open all sorts of, especially anything with an event being held. But in Orange County, they're fine with it. So you're finding places like that where it works. But the whole point is you don't have anything to show in those movies. So that's why Regal is just like, we're just gonna close all of our theaters until something actually opens. And if you don't have one of those movies come out, you're not gonna know, because I don't want to get on my soapbox again, but Tenet was not the movie that was going to save the motion picture industry. It's not that good. It's not terrible, but it's not great. It's not a Wonder Woman. It's not a James Bond movie. It's not a Fast and Furious. It's like, oh yeah, remember how you liked Inception? This isn't as good as that, but you want to come see it anyway? It's not like, oh, it's another Wonder Woman movie. Oh, it's another Fast and Furious. It's not like a big tentpole. It's more like acclaimed, super talented director, has an interesting story with a good cast, but it's not the kind of movie that people get excited about in that way, So you're not going to get a sense for whether or not movie theaters can reopen until you have something for people to see. I mean, as cool as it is to think you could spend $5 and go see Empire Strikes Back on the big screen, you're not going to get the kind of return that makes sense. So I don't know how much past May they would wait. At some point, would they be like, look, we got to put this thing out somewhere. We got to sell it VOD. We got to get some money but I don't know. They're going back in and they're filming. They're planning on filming movies, later this year, before the end of the year. So they must feel confident that they're going to put movies in theaters at some point. And May seems like, that's what, 7 months away. They must feel good about it at that point, because it's like, at some point you got to put these movies out. But I don't know. I just don't think we're going to see Black Widow anywhere other than on a movie theater screen, at least not as a premiere. So let me see what people are saying about that. Yeah. Daniel mentions that AMC says they're almost out of money. What that money is the money that they've borrowed since they ran out of money. They already ran out of money. They borrowed more money, and now they're almost out of that money. And Jacob says, I want to go to the movie, but you can't handle all the theater, so it was a joke. Thank you, Jacob. But in any case, I think it's something that we'll keep talking about. And by the way, I called him Mike Collier before, who's a friend of mine that I worked with 20 years ago.
I was so confused.
Mike Coulter. And it's just like, it sounded wrong when I said it, but then I'm like, I'm just going to move on. And then I'm like, yeah, that just, as soon as I said it, I'm like, that's not his name. But anyway, yeah, if he plays Luke Cage, everybody will be happy.
Shout out to Mike Collier.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you want Mike Collier to play him? Sure. He would be
Shout
good.
out.
Yeah. shout out to Mike Collier. Anyway, so Zach, in our final moment here, obviously we've had some shuffling of when things are going to come out. We're going to get WandaVision before the end of the year. Of all of these Disney Plus shows, is that look, it's the one we're getting next, so it's easy to be the most excited about. Where do you consider it? Is there one that you're more excited about, or is WandaVision still the one that, like, yeah, I can't wait till we get that?
I mean, look, She-Hulk's one of my favorite characters, so like I'm very excited to see that show, whether it's Tatiana Maslany or not. Like, I'm excited to see She-Hulk. But WandaVision, that's like gotta be like next in line because of pure insanity that we know it's gonna be. Like that's gonna be the biggest creative swing that Marvel has done so far, and I can't wait to see what it is. So, like She-Hulk, which I have nothing to go on, is like up there just based on the character. But as far as like the shows and what I know the shows are gonna be, WandaVision,
yeah. And when you see that trailer, it's just like, okay, yeah, this is going to be as crazy as we're expecting, and probably then some. But
like
Michael,
throwing freaking Spectrum in there, and basically they're gonna say Wanda just gives her Captain Marvel powers. Is basically what they just showed us. Like that's how you get Monica Rambeau.
Yeah. And Michael, you just prefer the stuff that comes to your house because, as we've established, you don't like to go out to the movie theater. So that's why you want Black Widow to be available on demand. But
I mean, I don't know why they're trying to make this movie. Like, stop trying to make movie theaters happen. Like, we just have to adapt. Like, things aren't just because we want this to be over and things to be different doesn't mean that it is.
No, look, and it's a great point. It's a realistic point of view. I think that if you had the feeling that, oh, they're never going to reopen, then I think that's when you start making those kind of adaptations. I think it's a lot different for Disney to decide to put Mulan on video on demand, and now the next Pixar movie, Soul, is going to be on Disney Plus. I think it's very different decision making that goes into that, but who knows? We'll look, at some point we're going to see that movie. And Zach, I've made this point a couple of times on the show. Just imagine if the year where movie theaters were closed and releases kept getting pushed back was the time between Infinity War and Endgame. So if that's the movie that kept getting pushed back, the final resolution of that, So if there was going to be a break, at least it came at this point. Well,
the irony of it's like they finished phase 3, they like got it out, epilogue dropped, and then they're like, we're taking a little bit of time, and then you're gonna get Black Widow, and then like we're gonna really go crazy with Eternals, or and then it's just like, no, phase 4 as a whole will wait.
It's just gonna wait. What I love about having everybody in the live chat is Jacob wants to know if regular hair products work for She-Hulk, or does she require extra strength? Best of all, Daniel responds, either Bruce Banner or Reed Richards probably had to make her hair products that work specifically for her. So yes, and she probably uses a ton of Aquanet. So see, I love those kind of.
I was gonna say, yeah,
because nothing is stronger than Aquanet.
I don't think that Hulk hair is that difficult to cut. I mean, look at Hulk. He like manages to stay like clean shaven and his hair trimmed, like even all that time on
Scissors work on Hulk hair?
What's that, Michael?
Scissors work on Hulk hair?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like Hulk during all that 2 years, Hulk was on Sakaar. He still had like a trim look about him. Like, I don't think it's that hard to cut Hulk hair. I think it's just hair. It's everything else. The muscle fiber is what's tricky.
Well, super strong superhero hair is a major plot point from Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, which of course is one of the finest superhero movies we've ever seen. Lex Luthor stealing that hair to make a clone of Superman, and John Cryer's in the movie. And if you haven't seen it in a while, good for you. Anyway, Zach, we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out and talk Marvel with us.
Yeah.
If people want to keep in touch with you, let them know where they can do that.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at that Zach Wilson. And that's it. It's easy.
And do you have any other ongoing shows, or maybe a backlog of a show that you might not be doing at the moment, or anything like that?
You can check out Ships in the Night. We got some cool episodes up there. Ships in the Night, where we take cross fandom ships, take two people that shouldn't be together, and we just see what would happen if they started dating. Talk about it. Ships in the Night, wherever podcasts are found.
Exactly. And I was lucky enough to be on a couple of times, and we had my favorite is still pairing up Grimace and Thanos.
Yep.
So we'll have to revisit that at some point. Michael, people who want to keep in touch with you, where do they do that?
You can find me on Instagram at I hate Michael Shirley and on Twitter at Michael X Shirley.
That's right.
Thank
Michael
you,
X.
Christian.
Well, I had to make sure that I got the X in there. And if you want to keep in touch with me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And this whole channel, the Blackcast YouTube channel, just subscribe. You'll get all kinds of stuff, including yesterday was the season 3 premiere of Star Trek Discovery. So keep an eye out for a show where we're going to talk about that. So that'll be fun / interesting. For some people, infuriating, but I always enjoy talking about whatever iteration of Star Trek there is, except for Lower Decks, because I didn't watch it. But anyway, that's just me. That is all the time we have now. Thanks so much to everybody in the live chat. Always fun having everyone, even at a crazy different day, different time. We appreciate it. But until next time, as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!